Well, hello and thanks for joining me. We've got a pretty cool and unique video today. We're looking at not one, not two, but in fact four Fender Stratocasters from across the generations, from 1960s, 70s, 80s and the 90s. Now, before we get on to doing the actual back-to-back sound comparison, I wanted to give you a quick bit of background. Now, as a lifelong Strat fan, enthusiast, collector, and an admin on an online group that has approaching 100,000 members now relating directly to the Fender Strat, I've seen a lot of opinion over the years. A lot of people very vocal and have their own preferences about the guitars and what they like or dislike about the different generations. So I thought I'd just have a look back to back, no nonsense, clean, without any pedals, straight into an amp and see how they sound against each other. So the 1960s were the original and apparently the best. They had that tone that has spawned an industry now that makes vintage guitars and replica pickups, and the pre-CBS Strats were of course deemed to be the best and original. Then we went on to the 1970s, which rightly or wrongly had a desperately bad reputation about quality control and sound, and the whole CBS era not being particularly good when compared to the 1960s guitars. So then there was the whole salvage and the Dan Smith era, if you like, and the improvements to all parts of the guitar. How did that affect the guitar's tone? What did the pickup sound like, out of the box compared to the 1970s and indeed the original guitars of the 60s? Then finally we'll look at some 1990s pickups, because by then that was kind of the swan song for what became the original or normal regular Fender Strat pickups. Because after that all bets were off. Fender had their own kind of hot-rodded pickups, if you like, noiseless pickups, lace sensors. EMG and other companies had active pickups in them, and now you get so many different versions. There's a whole industry related to vintage type pickup windings, hand wound pickups, double stacked humbuckers, all of that kind of stuff. So we're keeping it simple. We're going from the original 1960s right through the 1990s and see how they compare directly against each other. So finally, before we get playing, what are the guitars we're looking at today? Well, the first one is from 1963. It's an pretty much all original 63 Strat. It had a modification in terms of the 5-way switch back in we believe the 1970s, a very early mod. It's a hardwired switch, of course, so it really won't affect the tone in any way, shape or form. And the original pickups and pots and wiring are still there. So the 1970s one is actually a 73/74 Strat, 100% original. The neck, the pots, most of the guitar in fact dates to 73, but the pickups are dated to early 74, which would have been the final production of that guitar. So it's the staggered pole piece, late 73, early 74 pickups. Then we look into the 1980s, and it's an 83 standard Strat. Don't be alarmed when you see the colour. It's a very rare marbled effect bowling ball one that was painted by Darren Johansson as part of Fender's plan to shake up the colours for Fender and bring some pizzazz to the company back in the early 80s. There's only about 75 or so in this colour, so it's extremely rare, but in terms of the electronics and the pickups, they are representative of a typical Strat of that time from 1983. And the final guitar we're going to look at is actually a Squier Strat that I bought new in 1988, but then I bought a 1993 Strat back in the day in 93, and I wasn't that happy with the pickups actually, so I took them out and replaced them with Rio Grande pickups back in the day, but I put my USA standard 1993 pickups in my Squier, and they're still in there to this day. So we'll plug that in and see how that compares to the 60s, the 70s and the 80s. Right, without further ado, let's go and plug these in and see how we get on. Well, I hope you found that interesting. Please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. See if you've got any particular preferences, what you liked or didn't like about any of the different pickups, or even if you could tell a difference at all. Incidentally, the music that I've played today is from my new album, Cruel to Be Kind, available from my website, which is allthews.dylansmithguitarist.com. And I've done that to avoid treading on anyone's toes with copyright infringements on pinching their licks or any of their music today. So hopefully if you like some of the riffs or are more interested in that, check out some of my music on my other videos on the channel, or head over to my website and listen to the music there. So without further ado, I shall leave you in peace and see you soon. Take care.